New Patriotic Party questions continuous detention of 3 South Africans arrested over suspected security threats.
The BNI is aware of our laws that for a number of hours, if they think that they must continue to hold them, they need to do the proper thing. So maybe by the time we finish, they'll be released.
Meanwhile, the largest opposition party has vowed to continue with its security arrangements for their flag bearer despite the controversy.
Across the party structures, we have people or security committees of our party that our party people are taking through refresher courses all the time. So it will not, this is just like I told you, it's a storm in the teacup anyway.
Tonight we'll also hear from the police administration who have been responding to concerns over the provision of security for opposition presidential candidates. This is today's big story with me, Kwache Afreniama. The controversy over the arrest of 3 South African nationals by the Bureau of National Investigations is deepening. The New Patriotic Party is now questioning the failure of the BNI to arraign them more than 48 hours after the arrest. As you may well know, the 3 men were picked up on Sunday by the BNI over training they were undertaking for some staff of the MPP flag bearer Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Now, the South African citizens were expected to appear before an Accra Circuit Court today, but John News is learning the BNI officials were unable to process all their documents. The hearing has therefore been adjourned to tomorrow, that's Thursday. But speaking at a press briefing today, Acting General Secretary of the MPP, John Boadu, says the move is simply unacceptable.
The training or upping of their skills is not a one-off thing. And across the party structures, we have people or security committees of our party that our party people are taking through refresher courses all the time. So it will not, this is just like I told you, it's a storm in the teacup anyway. They were allowed to speak to their lawyers. We've been there. They asked that we see them today. I'm sure the BNI is aware of our laws. That for a number of hours, if they think that they must continue to hold them, they need to do the proper thing. So maybe by the time we finish, they'll be released. But if not, then they must do the right thing. We did not bring them in directly. We saw the services of a private security, and they know the details of what to do. You understand? There are a lot of you go around most of these private securities. They have instructors that some of them are local, some of them are, you understand? So those ones are details that if you get the names of the security companies, you can deal with. But our main priority is the security of our people, not just high profile. But from what we are seeing, just about a week ago or so, I had an interaction with the IGP. He was talking about the so-called vigilantes. I said, how can you be talking about political parties not getting their own personal security for their own personal protection if we cannot be sure of protection by the states? There's no way we can sit back and allow people who support and believe in our cause to suffer danger, potential security danger. And I don't think that there's something that we will continue. So we think that, and we'll continue to protect ourselves and make sure that the people of this country's mandate is protected.
So that was the Acting General Secretary of the MPP, John Boadu. Now, I'm sure today you may have heard some of the other opposition political parties, the PNC, for example, criticizing the MPP for taking this move, employing the services of a private security firm to train their men and all that. Nana Komia, the communications director, in fact, of the New Patriotic Party, has been responding to some of the criticisms.
There are political leaders in this country. We have good schools in Ghana. They're taking their children to schools abroad. The Ghana police and military, when they want training for their officers, there's a military academy. They take them to Sandhurst. Okay? Getting some expertise abroad doesn't mean that you don't have confidence in what you have. Otherwise, all these people that were speaking, they have their children in Dubai, going to school, don't they? So these things are not. We are concerned that the arrangements are proper and regular. That's all. And that, like the General Secretary mentioned, getting to the election. Look, if a flag bearer of a major political party like NPP gets hit, it's a major national security issue. Or you don't think so? Nanado, for example, Baumia was to be trampled on and seriously hit. It's a major national security issue. And so we are interested that the BNI will establish that what was going on was legitimate training. They said there was training in using guns. We don't know that yet. The people were being trained in VIP protection. It would involve disarming somebody with a weapon. So it may involve simulating weapon attack and all that. But they are investigating. Let them come out and tell us that something that was untoward. I mean, a training in a hotel, a public place. If somebody wanted to do something sinister, they will go and train in a hotel where there are people coming in and out. It's a little.
Nana Komia is the communications director of the MPP. Now, it gets interesting because in another twist, the police administration has been responding, in fact, to claims by the MPP that the party has always had to bear responsibility for their flag bearer security. Director of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service, Superintendent Sevasata, revealed this to my colleague Francis Aban on Pulse earlier today.
What we did 2012 and we are set to do again is to provide police escort, police security for flag bearers and their running mates. We did it in 2012 as part of the activities of the National Election Security Task Force to ensure that the election is secured. We have put in place some of these measures, and because I was involved in 2012, I know it happened in 2012. We are going to continue this year, and so we are even meeting the various stakeholders to the elections. We have already met the leadership of the youth groups of the political parties. We have met NDC. We have met MPP, and we are going to ensure that we provide the security once again. In 2012, we provided to the extent that Honorable Hassan Ayariga used his escort for more than even 4 months after this thing before.
Usually, when is this done? Is this given to them right before the elections or at the beginning of that election year?
Well, when campaigns heat up, during the electionary campaign, we provide.
So when they serve notice of a campaign, then you deploy the men for them?
That is so. It's part of our arrangement. But then, even before that, if anybody, even in an ordinary normal situation, expresses concern about his or her security and therefore request for police this thing, we provide.
Okay. So for this year, do you have a specific time that you give these people the protection they require?
I cannot put a finger on it now, but it is on the drawing. It is part of the facilities that we are providing.
Superintendent Sevasata is the Director of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service. We'll be speaking shortly to the MPP, get a response to the latest claim by the Ghana Police Service. But we can now go on the phone line and speak to private legal practitioner, lawyer Yaopon for some analysis on the party's concern so far as the detention of these three South Africans is concerned. Thanks for joining us on today's big story, Mr. Yaopong. With what we are hearing from officials of the BNI as a reason they have to reschedule the process of bringing the three men to court today, would you say that excuse holds merit?
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners. Well, as far as my understanding of the law may aid me, I will say that once a person is arrested, restricted, or detained, whether because he has committed an offense or there is a reasonable suspicion of his having committed an offense or being about to commit a criminal offense under the laws of Ghana, if he is not released within 48 hours after that arrest, restriction or detention, then he has to be presented before court. Otherwise, any continuous detention of that person beyond 48 hours, it is of an unconstitutional act, it is of an unlawful act. And I just referred you to Article 14, Clause 3 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. And in fact, the Constitution provides a remedy for such a person. If you read Article 14, Clause 5, it says a person who is unlawfully restricted, arrested, or detained by any other person shall be entitled to compensation from that other person. And for me, beyond the 48 hours, the continuous detention of any such person itself constitutes an unlawful act. So that's where we are. And no reason, in my understanding, no reason is good enough to
It doesn't even matter what we're hearing that the BNI officials say they were not able to finish with their documentation, which they would have needed in court anyway.
Well, in my understanding, no reason, no excuse can prevail over what appears to me to be a very clear constitutional and mandatory provisions of the Constitution.
And based on the earlier conversation I had with you earlier, it doesn't also matter whether they are citizens or otherwise.
No, the Constitution says any person, a person is a person. Are these people persons? I think the answer is yes, they are persons.
Well, you talked about remedy, and when we were talking about what the law says, what's the remedy? What can the MPP, for example, who have concerns about how the BNI is handling this matter, take?
Well, there is still what I consider to be a raging controversy when it comes to the enforcement of the human rights as contained under Chapter 5 of the 1992 Constitution. I mean, some say that for a person to succeed in enforcing his right under that provision, it must be that person alone. So Article 33 says, in relation to him, a breach in relation to him. But recently, there has been other varying decisions, at least at the level of Supreme Court, that the court itself should be minded where a provision of the Constitution is breached or is not being complied with. And when it comes to the attention of the court, it should not matter how, in fact, or by which procedure it came to their attention. And so it means that, and also when you combine this with the Habeas Corpus Act, then anybody who is interested in the release of the person, anybody in whose custody these people were before they were arrested, restricted, or detained, should be able to have the capacity and, based on cogent arguments, to be able to secure appropriate remedy in a human rights court or any other high court, either for their release or justifiable reason why their detention beyond the 48 hours should be continued.
And go ahead, sir.
Yes, I'm okay. Go ahead.
And I'm wondering, a question on the minds of most people, what could be the possible charges that could be leveled against them, looking at what the BNI has said in that league report?
Well, I'm so curious, and I'm just expecting an interesting charge, if in fact they have to be charged. But let's understand that under the Constitution, a person can just be arrested, detained, or restricted upon reasonable suspicion. And the police can always do that and later on tell you that, well, we had a reasonable suspicion, but upon further investigation, we realized that you have not committed any criminal offense. So that is possible. But otherwise, they have to be charged. I'm saying that I have looked at a few of the laws that are related to the allegations, which I'll call it allegations of this nature. And I'm curious to know under what laws, criminal offense, we will be told that they have committed, and under which law, and what are the punishments provided for it, because the Constitution is very clear that the person cannot commit a criminal offense unless the offense itself is provided for under a law, and also there is a punishment for it.
Interesting point you make. I've spoken to other lawyers, and you seem to feel that it will certainly be a difficult task for the BNI, in fact, state prosecutors, to find any offense under the criminal code to charge them with.
Well, not exactly. I mean, as for the prosecution, they can always prefer any charge against sustainable.
Certainly.
As whether it should be sustainable in court is another matter. For now, I am concerned that my charge would not be the source of any judgment that may be paid, because people have been unlawfully detained, and lawfully detained, as I explained, because the 48 hours have elapsed. I mean, in recent times, there has been this case of Doji Saba, even though in that case, it related to Article 17 and 14.7, it is not different from this. And if the people decide not to sue the individual who is unlawfully detaining them, in this case, the extension may be made to the state itself, because it's the agents of the state who are acting purportedly on behalf of the state. And I say purportedly because, as I said, my limited understanding of the law, beyond the 48 hours, they are engaging in an unlawful arrest, detention, especially.
And finally, before you go, just before we came on air, you were wondering why the security agency, whoever heads it or owns it, has also not been interrogated.
Yes, I asked the question because I had not heard anything in relation to that security company, because if our understanding is right, then they have been the ones that actually recruited these persons to come and give instructions to them, and then they also, by extension, then invited their client, like the MPP or maybe any other. So I think that if indeed they have committed any offense, it is the company, and officers of the company can always be cited to stand trial when a company even commits an offense, my understanding.
Very well, thank you very much. That's private legal practitioner Yao Pong. We've been joined on the line now by Deputy Communications Director of the MPP, Perry Okujeto. Mr. Okujeto, thanks for joining us on today's Big Story.
Thank you, Afre, and good evening to your viewers.
First off, the police administration has rejected a claim by your party that in the past and even in this election, the security of the flag bearer will be your responsibility.
Well, Afre, I find that very weird coming from the police. You see, we're in a situation where the security of our leaders has become very paramount. And we as a political party know why we have taken certain decisions. It is looking like we are being pushed to the wall. And where this thing is going, I think that we need to begin to be saying some of the things that bother us. Afre, a couple of weeks ago, you saw what happened to a member of parliament who belongs to our political divide. You saw how a gruesome murder was committed and we lost our member of parliament. We've had threats that we initially did not intend to make public. We value the security of our candidates. We do not want to wait until something happens to them before we start blaming anybody. We've picked up a lot of intelligence as well as a political party on what would happen to our candidates. So if we as a party take steps to make sure that those who protect our candidates are people who can actually do the work, which is protecting the candidate.
Well,
If that becomes criminal, I find that very weird. And in answering your question, there is a 4-year calendar after every election. So the security services providing security maybe 2 to 3 months to election day in an election year does not solve the problem of the security of our candidates. As we speak, we are campaigning. Nana is going around the country. Dr. Baumia is going around the country. Their spouses are going around the country. Senior members of our party are going around the country. The party chairman, the acting general secretary are all going around the country. All of these people need to be protected. And we cannot sit down for something to happen to them before we provide security. Mind you, we have lost a regional chairman in this party.
So the point you are making, Mr. Okujeto, hold on. The point you are making is that in the past, even when the police have offered protection to your candidate, it's only been 3 months before.
What is the duration? Why don't you ask the police what is the duration within which they have provided?
Has that happened in the past? Let's clarify this. Has that happened in the past? Has the state's security apparatus provided security for you in the past?
Well, the state security apparatus provides some level of security.
What level of security?
When it is close to elections. But you see, Alfred, the issue of people who act as security or bodyguards to people like our candidates are people who do so on a day-to-day basis, not on a seasonal basis. And therefore, you cannot surrender your security to state agencies that come in just a few months to election and expect them to do a good job. So beyond whatever provision they would make when they want to make it, we have to make sure that as we speak, there are people who guard the presidential candidate and his running mate and are capable and have skills to do that.
But Perry, the point is that the party was very emphatic yesterday, creating the impression that the state has at no point provided security for your flag bearer. In fact, let me read extracts of your statement. You said that unlike some other... Hold on for me.
That is what we are saying. And we stand by that statement.
But you've admitted that in the past, some level of security has been provided. You're only questioning the timing.
The level of security that the state provides does not do what these people are being trained to do.
So
let
yes,
me give you an example.
So yes,
for instance,
hold on, Mr. Okujeto. Let me set this straight. So yes, you admit that in the past the state has provided some security for your candidate.
VIP security protection to our candidate.
The state has provided some security for your candidate. Now the issue is with the level of satisfaction, right?
The issue is that the service that the security detail of the candidate provides is not what the state provides. And therefore, even if the state provides security, we will still need these security men.
Is this not a contradiction of what you've told us earlier, or the impression you've created earlier?
What is the impression we've created earlier?
That this was not done at all. The state provided no security at all.
But what the state provides, do they do the job that these people do?
What differently? How different is this?
Why didn't you ask the state what kind of security
I'm asking
they provide? You cannot just base this on the fact that the state says they provide security.
Mr. Okujeto,
what sort of security do they provide? What personnel do they provide? And what role do they play?
Mr. Okujeto, you have admitted that the state has provided some security in the past.
So
you are dissatisfied with that?
The state provides some security.
Perfect. You are dissatisfied with that, and I'm asking you, what is your dissatisfaction with that really prompted this decision to go for this VIP?
The dissatisfaction we have is the reason why we are training the people who do the job on a daily basis to be able to do it and do it better.
Which is? What is the state security agencies who are assigned to...
The state security agencies are the ones who have told you that they provide security. Why don't you ask them? I don't speak for state agencies.
So you cannot
so
tell me...
to tell you what kind of security they provide.
You cannot tell me exactly what your dissatisfaction is.
Because I do not know what security they provide.
You have concerns. You're willing to tell me what those concerns are?
Fred, the issue is that we are a political party. We have the right to make choices. Our security is paramount to us. The leader of the party's security is paramount to us. And we are taking that a notch higher by making sure that they get routine training. And that is what we have done. As to whether or not the state wants to help us with security or not, it's not the issue. The issue is that we want people who work with the candidates to be trained with the requisite skills to be able to deliver on what they are employed to do.
Very well.
I don't see why there's a crime in that.
Very well, Mr. Kujeto. So tell me, this year the police administration says it intends, like the 2012 election, to provide security. The MPP will be willing to take them on board, follow your flag bearer, provide security.
Any security that will be provided will not do the job that people who have been doing the job continue to do.
I need a direct answer to that. Will the MPP accept that
any
they come on
security
board?
that we provided will augment whatever is existing. It cannot be the case that the security that we provided will now take over the duties of the job these people do.
So fair to say that you would accept them on board, but you still go ahead and employ the services of these men.
Finally.
Well, that was Deputy Communications Director of the MPP. Thank you so much, Mr. Patriotic Party. That'll be it for today's big story. My name is Kwache Afreniama.